At the drum of the green at the 2006 SCCA Runoffs in the Touring 2 class, Dave Schatz in his number 75 Firebird took the lead from outside the front row and held on as the rest of the field streamed into turn 1. But unfortunately in racing, good things don't always last as Schatz went wide in turn 4 and Will Turner in his BMW took over the point. But by the very next turn, Chuck Hemmingson in his all-wheel drive Subaru had the lead with Turner on his tail. Schatz, trying to make amends for his earlier miscue, got loose again while chasing Derek Butts and would eventually finish 12th. Christian Scavness in another all-wheel drive Subaru settled into second, but at the line, Chuck Hemmingson took the win with the fastest lap, a Runoffs race record, and the national championship in T2. T2 is a class in the national championships where the manufacturers like to come and play. Don Knowles in his Pontiac Solstice is looking for his 4th national championship. He has 3 in the showroom stock classes. This would be his 1st in T2. He was 3rd the last time he competed at the SCCA Runoffs in T2. He'd like to improve a couple of positions. Bill Ziegler is going for the Triple Crown. He won the June Sprints. He's won his division. Now can he win the Runoffs? And Rob Hines, well, he needs to shake some of his bad luck. He's the only former T2 champ in the field, but the last 2 seasons, he's been taken out in crashes. He wants to change that luck and capture his 2nd national championship. For more on T2, let's go to Dorsey Schrader.
Veteran road racer Ken Dobson returns to the Runoffs in a brand new Nissan 350Z. Now, Ken was 5th in last year's championship, but since that point in time, the 07 season has been fantastic for the Northern Pacific champion. 5 for 5. 5 wins so far this year, and 5 brand new track records. Now, Ed Zabinski was entered in a Lotus, but you can tell this is no Lotus. This is a Pontiac Solstice, a brand new car. How new is it? Well, it just rolled off the trailer and they stuck the stickers on it. Ed's got a big learning curve in front of him. Dave Schatz comes in with a Pontiac Firebird. Now, this car is the biggest, the heaviest, big V8 in there. As a matter of fact, thinking about that, the Nissan, it's a 6. Ed's car, it's a 4-cylinder, and this is a V8. Which will be the one to win? We'll know shortly.
The SCCA National Championship Runoffs presented by AT&T represent the pinnacle of competition for the competitors of the SCCA. To win your class here is to lay claim to the title, Best of the Best. And for the competitors of the Touring 2 class, nothing could be finer than to take the gold, stand upon the top step of the podium, and be crowned champion. But to do so, they'll not only have to do battle with a very deep pool of talent in the class, but also with a newly reconfigured Heartland Park Topeka racecourse. Hello and welcome to Speed's coverage of the SCCA Runoffs. I'm Brian Till, and along with Dorsey Schrader, I'll be talking you through today's competition. Chris Neville, Mike Johnson will call the action from pit lane, and we'll head straight down to the pits with Chris.
Well, Joe Aquilani is starting 4th today. This is his 14th runoff appearance. He had a 3rd back in 1991. He's hoping to best that today. Now, Phoenix Performance, his team, has really been the power team this weekend. They've already captured 2 wins in other classes. Today, they once again have this deck stacked in their favor because they've also got the pole-sitting car, Don Knowles. However, a little bit of drama this morning. Don Knowles blew a turbo out in that Pontiac Solstice. Took 2 hours to change. The team thinks the engine is okay, but we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Mike?
Starting 9th is George Biscuit here in this Dodge SRT4. Now he's going up against that much more lighter and much faster, more popular Pontiac Solstice. Now you World Challenge fans will remember the name George Biscuit. He was the 1999 Rookie of the Year in the GT class. He kept very busy this year doing quite a bit of Rolex and Coney racing, and he's already bought an 08 Porsche to go IMSA Cup racing next year.
Take a look at the grid there. You see Nissans, you see the Camaros, and GM has really dominated this class over the past. 14 wins for General Motors, and there's one of the Subarus, a very powerful Subaru with an all-wheel drive that dominated this class last year. We don't see very many of them, but you will see this Pontiac Solstice, and at the hands of guys like Don Knowles, Edward Zabinski, they will be cars that are going to be tough to beat out here. The field now beginning to roll away. And T2 should be another exciting one. We've had a lot of rain over the past several days. 2nd race of the day here for the Touring 2 class. And it's going to be a very green racetrack. We talk about this racetrack being reconfigured, Dorsey. It's pretty different than last year.
A much faster Heartland Park exists today because they eliminated the really tight corners. here in turn 1 and 2, and here, the old bus stop. That's been eliminated. These are now much quicker corners. As a result, the cars that have a lot of horsepower are good down on this end. Now, the handling cars, this is where it gets tight. They call it the autocross. If you got a good handling car, you'll be good there. We'll see which of those combinations is the one to have today.
In Touring 2, always exciting. We talked about the all-wheel drive taking advantage last year, but take a look at T2, the category.
These were street cars, high-performance street cars, if you will. We saw already that there's 4-cylinder, 6 and 8. You're required to make some changes for safety, but you also can make suspension, brake changes, and so forth.
Well, it is cool, it is cloudy, but the temperature, it's about to heat up because Touring 2 is about to take the green flag for the SCCA National Championship, the 44th running of the National Championship Runoffs. The 2007 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, the 44th year that the competitors of the Sports Car Club of America have gathered to crown national champions throughout the national classes. On tap today, Touring 2 from Heartland Park, Topeka. Only the second time they've raced here. The T2 class lining up behind the Volkswagen pace car, the official pace car of the SCCA. Don Knowles, a former national champion 3 times in Showroom Stock B, starts from the pole. Edward Zabinski beside him, another national champion there in the 5th spot. Rob Hines, you look through the second 20 there. 2 national divisional champions in that second 20, and Michael Pettiford and Bill Moore. And then the rookies back in 21st and 22nd. John Baldwin, CJ Moses, 2 of the rookies in this very deep pool of talent in the Touring 2 class. We'll have some good onboard shots for you today, and we'll start right up front with Don Knowles in the number 35, your pole sitting car, the Pontiac Solstice. He'll bring us some great onboard shots as well. When we talk about this Heartland Park circuit, going through turn 7 right now, an uphill climbing left-hand corner. Look at the rest of the field streaming by. There's a look at the number 75. That's Dave Schatz. He'll start from the 7th position, and we'll be on board with him as well. You should get some good, shots from David Schatz today. I had to do it. Schatz rolling off in the 7th position, like I said. Field lining up, trying to get the tires warmed up a little bit. It is cool, it is cloudy, it is overcast, and one more onboard camera for you as well. Jason Henderson starts beside Schatz in the 8th position, and it should be a good one. Some last-minute stories from pit lane, Mike.
Hey guys, keep an eye on Joe Hermes in one of the 5 Nissan 350Zs in the class. He's 55 years young. He says he's living the dream. He's racing, spending time with his 2 boys, and get this, selling Lamborghinis. Now, he told me before the race, his car's kind of fighting a little identity crisis right now because he's got Lamborghini stickers all over the car, but unfortunately the 12 car is still just a Nissan. Chris?
Well, Mike, Jason Henderson is starting back in that 8th spot, and this is his 3rd runoffs appearance. The past 2 years didn't turn out the way he had hoped, so this season he spent a lot of time in shifter karts. Driving the shifter karts has helped him with car feel and also momentum. Now, with the Nissan, it doesn't have a lot of torque, so he's got to focus on momentum. Dorsey, maybe you could help us out with the importance of torque.
I knew you were going to lay in there. I could feel that coming that way.
Dorsey gets beaten up a lot for talking about torque, so he tries not to talk about it anymore. The Touring 2 class coming to the line. We'll see how it all turns out. Don Knowles, Edward Zabinski on the front row, and their Pontiac Solstices. The green flag waves. We're racing in T2.
And Zabinski's car not even 3 days old right now, so he did a great job in qualifying.
Don Knowles, a good start side by side with Zabinski down to turn 1. These 2 guys teammates, and they lead it through 1 and 2. That newly reconfigured portion of the racetrack very quick now. The rest of the field beginning to stream through, and it's getting a bit busy back there in the back.
As it always does. You look at that, Don Knowles has a lot of experience in these cars, so Ed Zabinski be really nice to be able to tuck up there and learn a little bit from Don.
And Zabinski has a lot to learn about his car. Some great onboard shots there in the field. Oh, getting tight there. You ride on board. That's the number 99, Jason Henderson, trying to work his way up. Now, Henderson had been as high as 4 through the first 3 qualifying sessions and said, you know, I think I can go faster, so he made a bunch of changes to his car and lost 4 positions in qualifying. So here's the deal. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you got a good setup, don't completely throw it away. Zabinski, or I should say, Henderson lost those 4 positions in qualifying because he basically re-engineered the entire car.
I don't know
right
how
before the 4th qualifying session.
How many times I came to the runoffs and unloaded the car being fastest that day and just continually worked my way slower as I went.
The more you worked on it, the slower you went. Henderson through the Fast S's, turn 8 and 9, a much quicker section of the racetrack than it was last year. And we've seen a lot of cars off there all weekend long. See the 32. That was Joseph Aquilante, Joe Aquilante, the head of that Phoenix Motorsport group.
And look at Dave Schatz in there in the big Pontiac Firebird. I mean, that car just looks huge in comparison to the cars around it, all much smaller, more nimble cars, I should say.
Yeah, it seems to have a lot of roll on it when you watch him working through there and back onto the front straightaway now. You're right on board with Dave Schatz.
That car's got so much roll it even rolls our camera with it. That's a lot.
Down the front straightaway, Schatz flashes across the line in the 5th position. Bill Ziegler right in front of him in the 05. Schatz looking to the inside, drops the wheels there on the right, and right behind Schatz, George Biscuit.
You know, last year, Brian, this class was really dominated by Subaru. Everybody thought you had to have a Subaru to win. Well, the Pontiac Solstice comes out, and now look what it's turned the whole thing around. Now it's the Solstice.
It has been flying, absolutely flying here as you look at Don Knowles up through the turn 4 area and then heavy braking into 5. He'll rush down the hill, and you look out the back. That's what Don Knowles seeing right now. Nothing, and that's good.
Saw a lot of smoke coming out of the back there when he slowed up. Now this car ate a turbocharger right before the race. And usually when a turbocharger fails, it's because the oil seal goes bad. And as long as it didn't eat the impellers, nothing would have gone through the engine. 2
more Pontiac Solstices right there. Bill Ziegler just got past Joe Aquilante in another battle with the Pontiac Solstice, and a problem for the number 73, the Cadillac of John Buttermore, losing a position there as well. Ziegler now up to 3rd. He's taking the position away from Aquilante, and he is trying to make a run to the front. But last lap, Don Knowles, by our lap chart, was 4 seconds, almost 4 seconds a lap faster than Zabinski.
And of course, that Zabinski, as we said before, is only on his 3rd day ever driving this car. It unloaded off the trailer. They were still bolting it together. The Phoenix boys put it underneath that. He bought it for this wet race, so he's still learning.
And Ziegler working his way up towards the front. Mike, what do you have on the 05?
Well, you know, guys, I was down in the pit lane at the beginning of the race, and there was like some smoke or something coming from the front of the 05, and I kind of looked a little closer, couldn't figure out what it was. Then I realized they had run liquid nitrogen through the intercooler before the race. I asked the crew chief, what is this doing for you? He goes, we can maybe get 2 quick laps. With the top 3 cars being separated by only a few tenths of a second, they're hoping maybe in the early bits of the race with a much cooler intercooler, they get a little bit more turbo, get that run down the straight, and maybe pop a lead in those first 2 laps when the advantage was theirs. Guys?
I'm not sure that that's legal to do, per se. And liquid nitrogen could probably crack the intercooler. It's so cold.
Thanks for the NARC deal there, Mike. The tech
we used to use dry ice.
Dave Schatz now really beginning to put pressure on Joe Aquilante. Aquilante beginning to slip back a little bit. Not having the day he wants to. Jason Henderson trying to hold down 10th position as well. He slipped back a couple of positions from the starting grid. We'll be back to T2 and the runoffs.
From one tough job to another, Marty Grand used to be a Marine, and now he is a unit chief in the FBI in the Counterterrorism Division. But to relax, Marty likes to come to the racetrack where he can actually de-stress from the very tough life, as I'm sure, working for the FBI. What does getting behind the race car do for you?
Well, after a stressful work week, I love to get behind the wheel of my race car because I can't think about anything other than racing, so it kind of cleanses my mind.
Now, as your fellow competitors, do they get nervous if they were to bump into your car? Maybe you'd be able to do something to them?
Now, we take care of that on the racetrack.
All right, good luck.
Yeah, well, he has a file on everybody that competes in the Touring 2 class. I probably, no, just kidding though, but in all seriousness, you talk about de-stressing. Marty Grand not only works for the FBI and the anti-terrorist deal, but he deals with a lot of bomb work as well. So I would say that is a pretty stressful career. This is probably relaxing. Marty Grand running 15th right now. So actually up to 14th that last time by the line. So he's picked up a spot. So good news for Marty Grand, having a good time here at the runoffs, and it's great that he can get the time off. Actually, the gentleman that got me started in racing back in the SCCA was a former FBI agent himself. His son right now is an FBI agent, so a lot of that going on when it comes to the SCCA, it seems like.
Well, one of the things that people who have never done racing before don't realize is that it is all-consuming, that your concentration level is so intense while you're doing this sport that you cannot have any other thought but what you're doing. I mean, it is a mind-cleansing situation. That's all there is.
Well, right now, David Schatz has gotten past Joe Aquilante, and now Ken Dobson in the number 3 Nissan right behind him, beginning to put the pressure, and Rob Hines sticking with him as well. So Aquilante has slipped back a little bit. You see the 2 Nissans there, the number 3 of Dobson, the number 14, Rob Hines, trying to work their way up, and Aquilante wide of the apex there, Dorsey, so perhaps that little Solstice not doing what it needed to do. He had a pretty good lead going into 8 and 9, but man, Dobson really closed the gap through that high-speed section of the racetrack. Look at this. There is no gap anymore.
Bump drafting going on here. You talked about it before, the fact that it has rained so much around here since we've been here that you don't dare drop a wheel off. These guys getting close to doing that. That's why I bring it up.
You drop a wheel off, you're going off, and Dobson all over the back of Aquilante right now. Joe Aquilante's son, Andrew, won the Touring 1 National Championship yesterday, so I know he's still very proud of that, but he needs to forget about Touring 1, concentrate on Touring 2 right now, because Joe Aquilante under some serious pressure from those 2 Nissans behind him. But look at the gap he pulls down the front.
Yeah, the 2 Nissans actually working together. I think, you know, they're pushing each other bump draft and realizing that the Solstice has top-end speed on them. They're going to try to work together to get their speed situation clarified.
It really seems to be where it is, because Dorsey right in here. Look at Dobson coming back.
Great sliding move to the inside.
Oh, can he hold it? He's put Aquilante out where he doesn't want to be on the outside. He works his way through, and now
Hines has got to
go with him.
Yeah, Hines has got to get up in there tight.
Got to get alongside him.
Oh, and the bump.
He doesn't get quite long.
No, I spoke too soon.
Hines, I thought he was going to get it stopped, but once again, with all the rain we've had, you get on the grass, you're going for a ride, and it usually is going to end relatively abruptly. Now he's stuck.
And he's not even on a hill. That's how slippery it is here. I mean, he's just nosed into the barrier. If he can get out of there, he tried going forward, now he's going to try to rock it. But he needed to get closer. Watch Hines to the inside with the yellow windshield tint.
I'm sure he thinks he's clear.
And just a little bump. Now, right here, I thought he had it saved, but it's going to hook on him. Once he gets that front in the grass, now he's just a passenger. Boom. Not big hit.
And just about the time it does the 360, what comes into view?
Yeah, that darn wall. Here's another look. And it's just not intentional, just a brush, but it's enough to set loose the Nissan. And around she goes. Once it's in the grass, like you say, there's nothing you can do but just lock it down.
You know, once again, I'm sure he thinks he's clear right here. Just barely makes contact.
Actually,
thinks he's clear. Aquilante keeps his nose in there, and boom.
A little bit harder of a hit than I first thought it was.
Just a slight uphill.
There we go. Corner
back
workers
to the racetrack. Yeah, and the corner workers to the rescue, as they usually are at any SCCA event. You see some of the spectators in the back applauding the corner worker.
Well, he won't go a lap down. The bad news is that without a caution, he'll never make that much ground up, and he's going to put some mud out there on the racetrack for the other guys to slide around in.
He brought some junk out on the track with him, and he's got it all over his tires. Now, some damage to the front end. I don't see any fluid out of the radiator or any steam like that right now, but for Rob Hines, his shot at an SCCA National Championship in Touring 2 is gone. But as you look out of the back of Don Knowles' Pontiac Solstice, ain't no one around. It doesn't change. Don Knowles having it all his way here at the Touring 2 Runoffs. The Touring 2 division of the SCCA, the National Championship Runoffs. The run for the gold medal, the national championship from Heartland Park, Topeka. For the 44th year, the SCCA has gathered to crown its champions. And this year, back at Heartland Park, Topeka for the second time. The battle for Touring 2, it's underway. Don Knowles continues to lead, and that is the view that Knowles has out of the front of his Pontiac Solstice. Out the back, there's nothing there for 7 seconds back. Don Knowles having it all his way, Dorsey.
Yeah, Don has a lot of experience, many national championships under his belt, a lot of pro racing, my old teammate. So it doesn't surprise me that he's able to get away from these guys.
A little over 8 seconds in hand, but that may all go away as we've had a problem on course.
And this is a pretty good hit. As you can tell, the tire wall has been all knocked around. They'll have to get that straightened out. I'm not sure which car that is.
Looks like one of the Subarus.
The Subaru for sure.
John Baldwin in the number 10. You see Baldwin Motorsports there on the window banner. I believe it's Baldwin.
Uh-oh, that's not going to work. Oh, inside, they're going to make contact.
All-wheel drive is good, but it's not that good. He's in the grass, but I think he just got stuff on his tires, Dorsey. Couldn't get it turned.
Boy, and you see now he's on a downhill run. Boy, that took a long time to get that wall, didn't it?
He was crashing for a long time.
Yeah,
he just didn't get to anything.
Now watch this. He's all-wheel drive, so he's probably trying to work his way back. He's on the throttle, and it just runs out of luck right there and out of road.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, once again, with the rain we've had and the wet conditions, you get off the racetrack, it is very slick. But the other thing is, it tends to be downhill to the wall on all of these corners. So, and a problem for the 32 on pit road. We'd seen problems
That's another one
earlier
of
on.
the Phoenix cars. That's Joe Aquilani himself that's in there. Looks like they're changing out the left front.
That, remember, the contact that Aquilante had with Rob Hines must have cut down that left front, or he felt like it had bent the wheel.
Anyway, he gets a new left front, and there's no caution yet. If he had known that caution was coming, he maybe could have made another lap.
And not lost quite as much. That is the view out of the back of Don Knowles' Pontiac Solstice.
Now, we're saying that we think there's going to be a caution, but this is SCCA, so you really don't know.
Well, they've thrown full course cautions a lot this weekend to get the messes cleaned up.
Now, there is a Lotus, that little car. You see it right there, the 4 car.
Great looking little cars. That's Dennis Aubuchon in that little Lotus, being chased right now. Trying to work his way up, but being chased by the number 9 of Stephen Christopher.
And that's a big old Pontiac. It looks huge compared to that Lotus.
And then Brian Viviani there in the BMW, the 0 car. Number 9, yeah, it does. It looks huge compared to the Lotus, doesn't it, Dorsey? Look at that. That little Lotus Elise.
You look out the rearview mirrors, like, oh,
I was going to say, you think it looks big to us. What do you think it looks like to him? Dennis looking out of the back of that car going, man, that's a big thing behind me.
Should say so.
Right now, holding station, that's the battle for 20th. They're trying to hold down that battle right there, and good battles all around the racetrack. Richard Roberts there in the number 5 BMW has gotten past the number 4 of Aubuchon. And right now, it looks like the 9's going to clear him as well. So perhaps Aubuchon with a bit of a problem, beginning to slip back just a little bit. Lost 2 positions here very recently. Jason Henderson having some problems as well. Henderson had made those changes. He's moved back up to 8th, which is where he started, but he just got passed by the number 8. Look at the mud on the
Bill
windshield.
Bateman got around him. Yeah, he probably dropped the wheel off and threw up that mud. Bateman checking out now up in front.
Now, Dorsey, as a driver, you would never intentionally drop a wheel in the mud to cover the windshield of the guy behind you if you were running these conditions, would you?
Depends on how aggravated I was.
It is really actually a weapon that you can use here to kind of take the concentration away. You're not going to cover up the windscreen to the point of not being able to see, but when you get some of that dirt thrown on your windshield, it will definitely take your attention away right now. Jason Henderson paying plenty of attention, trying to work his way back up. The SCCA National Championship Runoffs, the battle for Touring 2 continues.
Some race for the high, some race for the trophy. John Baldwin Jr. races for recovery. This Louisiana resident uses his passion for motorsports for a more noble cause. John, how have your efforts affected hurricane recovery?
Well, Racing for Recovery is a program we started to just bring awareness and attention to the continuing efforts to rebuild after the storms. With the help of the United Way Foundation, we're collecting donations from the racing community to just try and help. And 100% of everything goes towards the United Way and their efforts. We have more than 40,000 people that are still out of homes down there, and we're just trying to bring things back to normal.
Louisiana still needs your help.
Well, that they do, Chris. It is still a mess, and a big mess right now. You see the car there, the number 10, stuck in the fence. Disappointment for John Baldwin. Now, once again, Baldwin, that corner before he went off, Dorsey, was in the grass, and I think maybe he just covered the tires of that little Subaru in a lot of dirt and debris, and you get to the next corner, it's a high-speed corner. The car looks like it just doesn't turn.
And you brought up a good point. When you leave the racing surface here and get to the grass, it's a downhill slope. And you watch, he's not giving up. He's driving this thing all the way. He's going to drive it all the way to the point of the wreck.
Drive it to the crash.
But he wasn't giving up. I mean, he had to break off. He was turning, trying to use that four-wheel drive to pull him out. See right there, he's doing a pretty good job, but unfortunately he runs out of room. The downhill didn't help him.
No, the downhill didn't help at all. I think perhaps just dropping the wheels ahead. There's John Baldwin out of the car. Seems to be okay, but he seems to be disappointed, and why wouldn't he be? His runoffs is finished. David Schatz right there, up to 4, so a good run for Schatz. He started back in 7th, has picked up several positions. And you look out of the back of David Schatz's car, being pressured a little bit. Ken Dobson and the other Nissan really closing in on him through turns 3 there, Dorsey.
Yeah, I think this big Pontiac's is the straightaway king for sure, but when it gets down to the autocross end of the track where they are right now, or getting close to, I would think that's the car not to have.
Yeah, Dobson's Nissan seems to really work well. This is the battle for 4 through the tighter sections. Dobson has been very impressive all day today, and it's now really putting the pressure on shots. And look at the difference in the cars, the way they handle. You talked about it earlier, that Pontiac with a lot of roll. Look at it.
Yeah, it needs that much roll to get the bite that it gets. But, you know, like I said, the two ends of this racetrack now are so completely different that one end is going to favor this Pontiac and the other end is going to favor that Nissan.
All right, through the 8-9 combination, Schatz works his way through. In the rearview mirror, Dobson picks up a few positions or a few spots, a couple of car links there through 8-9. Now they come to the tight section of the racetrack. Watch this.
Yeah, here comes a Nissan. He's going to really make a nuisance of himself on this end because this is where he's good.
He's just moving around in the mirrors there, trying to get Schatz' attention, trying to get him off game. Oh, he sticks his nose up alongside. It won't work there. And now they come through the right-hander, 13, and then through the left-hander, 14, onto the front straightaway.
And
let's see the power.
Yeah, watch the Pontiac now.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
That's all that.
I mean, that is this racetrack now.
That's torque.
Yeah, but you know no,
I
don't
can't
go
get
there.
you to go there.
This is something interesting though, because since the checkered flag is just past that part, you know, just past those real tight corners, that's to Dobson's advantage when it comes down to the last lap.
And another good battle here between two very different types of cars. You see the Cadillac CTS-V followed by the Mitsubishi Evo right there. That's the 73 of John Buttermore, and then Michael Santos behind him in the 16. And that's the great thing about this Touring 2 class. You can have very different type cars. You've got this big four-door sedan in the Cadillac CTS-V, and obviously it's a high horsepower car. And then you got the little Mitsubishi Evo, and he's all over the back of the big Cadillac.
You know, you're going to take your car to different racetracks. You don't just run at one, and different racetracks are going to suit those two different types of cars. Now, since it changed Heartland Park, both cars have a strong end. The handling cars have the strong end.
Oh, and thank God.
Nice four-wheel drive slide.
Thank God for the handling of the Mitsubishi.
And then you got the straightaway side.
Back to the battle, the Lotus. Abishan in the number 4. Trying to close the gap back to the 5 of Richard Roberts in the BMW right in front of him. But the BMW really seems to pull down the straightaway, and behind him, another of the Mitsubishis, CJ Moses in the 58.
I don't think the little Lotus has any engine. I think it's a pretty small engine. It doesn't make much power. As you can see, it's a lightweight car. Handles good, brakes are good, but power is not its thing.
CJ Moses has worked his way past Steven Christopher. He too wants to get into the battle, but meanwhile, Don Knowles continues to lead. He has a commanding lead in Touring 2. Touring 2 at the drop of the green. Pontiac Solstice is up front. Don Knowles from his pole position in his yellow Pontiac takes the lead down to turn 1. Edward Zabinski in the black Pontiac Solstice, the number 79. All right, alongside, he drops in behind, and the race is on. Then a problem. Rob Hines in the 14 Nissan gets together with Joe Aquilante in the number 32. Bang. Take a look at this. Subaru all-wheel drive at work. But that's not going to be enough to keep John Baldwin out on the fence.
He's trying real hard, but not today, as he hits the tire wall.
Baldwin doing everything he could with that downhill slide off that very fast turn 8 and 9. Bit him. You look out the front of the number 75 car. Or no, that's the number 35. That is your leader,
That's
Don
the view
Knowles.
that's the view I want right there.
Knowles beginning to work lap traffic, but he's got 10 seconds in hand, Dorsey, and that's very impressive. Driving the same car that Edward Zabinski is, but the fact of the matter is, Edward Zabinski, he didn't even get in his car until the last session of qualifying. That car built, literally, it was born here at Heartland Park. And look at this battle continuing to be awesome. Dave Schatz in that Pontiac Firebird right behind him. Ken Dobson in the number 3 Nissan. Dobson continues to hound Schatz.
Dobson doing exactly what he needs to do. He's keeping that pressure on Dave, trying to make a little air, trying to force him to slide that big old heavy Pontiac one time too many, Now he'll try to go up the inside. He's got the better run, but watch the horsepower.
This is the part of the racetrack that Ken Dobson does not like, and that is that long straightaway. But he's been very fast, closes the distance a lot in the braking zone in turn 1, and he's not been this close. And I know that looks pretty far away, but watch him close up down here in 1 and 2.
He's going to have to find a way to pass Schatz somewhere before he gets to the twisty section so he can use that agility of that Nissan to open up a gap. Otherwise, when they get to the straightaway, he's just going to get clocked again.
Yeah, I mean, he closes to within 2 or 3 car lengths on the way out of 2, and he closes all that up through that handling section, and then through here really closes the gap. But Schatz has the horsepower.
Well, if he can keep Schatz sliding that car around, if he can keep him just working so hard that the back end of the Pontiac slides around, those tires will start giving up, and you'll finally fall victim.
Yeah, a lot of knuckles and elbows.
Here we go.
I see through the windshield of Dave Schatz's Pontiac right now, and Dobson really trying to put the pressure on, but a lot of smoke out of the back of that Nissan right there. Dorsey, look at the slide. Is this it? Is he going to have the run? This is horsepower too, up the hill to the very quick turn 7. More smoke out of the back of Dobson, and he's dropping back.
Yeah, I saw it too, Brian. I think you just saw the early signs of an engine failure, and that's exactly what's going on. Either that, we'll keep an eye on. It might be a tire down. I'm not sure.
But look at Schatz trying to get past some lap traffic, almost runs off the racetrack. Dobson able to close back, but I think that Nissan
Dobson's
is not
hurt.
healthy.
Yeah, there's something. We'll take a look here, see if we can see if it's coming out the tailpipe or if that's coming out off of a tire. But you saw it first, and it was certainly getting worse as it goes on.
Looked like it was out of the right side of that Nissan. He's been able to close back up a little bit, but we'll have to see
left
down
side,
the front.
tailpipe. Definite tailpipe. That engine's just about ready to blow up.
It's about to be parked.
It's hurt itself already. Let's just say that. It's eating itself alive.
There's a good look at Edward Zabinski as he flashes by in the number 79. 05 Bill Ziegler right behind him, so this battle really tightening up a bit. Less than a second between these two combatants the last time by at the line. Mike, what do you have on Zabinski?
Well, Amanda Hennessy is a part-time driver, but the full-time crew chief for this car, and it was the one actually that built this car in the 2 days to get it ready. How hard was that to do?
It was pretty exciting. It took just about me and every GM performance tech that's here supporting the runoffs to actually get it done. But up till about 2 o'clock in the morning with some buzz-through coffee, and we had a thing actually pretty much put together for Thursday's qualifying, which was his first time in the car.
Now, Ed is having a problem right now with the traction control and the stability control. Is that why he's falling off a little bit right now?
Unfortunately, right from the get-go, he's been having a problem where the option to turn the ESC and the traction control off hasn't exactly been cooperating with us. So he's trying to get it under control and doing some crazy maneuvers on the track, even shutting the car off to try to reset it to see if it'll come back on.
All right, guys. Well, he's doing everything he can to keep that thing up front.
And Amanda Hennessy looks pretty good for delivering a new car. Just yesterday we said this car was born here at this track, and she was the mama of it. She directed everything and got this car basically from its showroom condition and turned it into a race car for Ed Zabinski.
He's turning the engine off and cutting the power to try to trick the computer into letting him do what he wants it to do. I've done this before.
Bill Ziegler giving chase right now, but Don Knowles having it all his way. The Touring 2 National Championship from Heartland Park. The SCCA National Championship Touring 2 runoffs from Heartland Park, and right now Ed Zabinski running second in the number 79 has a mirror full of Bill Ziegler. 2 Pontiac Solstices battling out for the second position here. Both of them have a podium. That is your top 2. That is second and third, I should say. So they've got second and third locked down. They've got medal, but guess what? Bill Ziegler wants silver. He doesn't want bronze.
And Ed's dealing with a car that's not doing what it's supposed to do, and he's trying to find a way. There's Amanda Hennessy talking to him, trying to give him some clues of what to try next to solve the problems he's occurring.
She is a very smart young lady. She's a certified GM technician, and that's why she was here helping them build that car. She's quite a driver in her own right, as we talked about just a moment ago. Right now, Ed Zabinski holding off Bill Ziegler in the 05. 2 almost identical cars. She's having a good time watching right now, cheering on Ed Zabinski, trying to get him to the finish line in second. Right now, no one is going to catch Don Knowles, it appears, unless he has some type of a problem. And once again, remember, this is a brand new car, but it's a brand new car to Ed Zabinski, so he's having to learn it as well. Don Knowles has been in this car. He understands it. But look at this. 73 and 16, the battle between the big car, the little car, the 73, the Cadillac.
John Buttermore in the Cadillac over Michael Santos, and they're lapping through some traffic right now.
That little Mitsubishi Evo still holding on to the back of that much more powerful Cadillac CTS-V.
And once again, there's different courses for different courses, and the Cadillac, being the bigger car of the two, is on the end of the racetrack where he'll be not as happy as the straightaway end. Michael Santos with that Mitsubishi should be pretty quick through here.
But Buttermore will love to see turn 14 that leads down that drag strip, the long front straightaway. He finished second in the Touring 1 race yesterday to Andrew Aquilante. So Buttermore with a lot of track time this weekend and a lot of track time in high horsepower cars.
You know, last year's configuration, this car wouldn't stand much of a chance because all you had was the one straightaway up this end. The other side, the turn 9 on the other side, was so tight that it wasn't much of a straightaway. This new configuration makes it more a better track for these cars that have horsepower but not as much handling.
Yeah, the big guys, the guys in the heavier high horsepower cars love to see the changes. Guys in these Mitsubishi Evos, the Subarus, no, they're not quite as happy with the changes that have been made. A little bumping and grinding going out on the racetrack.
Uh-oh,
Marty Grand and Chris Brandon.
That's the FBI you're messing with, buddy.
Listen for the tick, tick, tick on your phone from now on. You may have a tap on there. You don't want to mess with Marty Grand. They've had a little contact out on the racetrack, and Marty Grand having a good run up to 10th.
Good little save there. It was trying to do an ugly moment. Scandinavian flick is what we call that. I don't think it was intentional. It was a rally move.
Chris Brandon trying to hold on to the back of Marty Grand. It has been close out there. How close? Excuse me.
Oh.
I'll just take that rear wheel off the ground for you there.
Gave him some speed, though. Thank you. I think.
That's that Pontiac GTO doing battle with Marty Grand. His Mitsubishi. Touring 2 battle continues from Heartland Park, Topeka, the 44th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. We'll be back right after this. Stick with us. Touring 2 battle from the SCCA National Championship. The battle for second place continues. Bill Ziegler has been able to take the position from Ed Zabinski. And Ziegler has gotten by Zabinski, struggling with that Pontiac Solstice just a bit. Perhaps that struggle is what has cost him the position.
I think that was a matter of time. You could see Ziegler really putting the pressure on, and we just heard that Zabinski's been having this problem with the ECU, or the computer. The traction control on that car, I wish they didn't have all these things, to be quite honest about it, but they do nowadays. And if they don't work, then the car doesn't perform the way it was intended.
Well, you heard Amanda Hennessy say he can't turn it on and off, which tells me these guys are using it in some places of the racetrack, and they prefer it not to be on in other areas of the racetrack. It may just be too harsh through some of the high-speed corners, and when it kicks in, it really cuts the power off.
I mean, all these electronic advances and advantages are really designed for street car use, and in a racing use, sometimes they're a hindrance, sometimes they're a help. And you'd like to be able to turn it off on the places like you're talking about where you would like to slide the car.
They're a great advantage on the street, make no bones about that. Great safety advantage on the street, but as you were saying, on the racetrack, you may not want them. I have a stability management system on a car that I own, and I've had it for a few laps around the racetrack, and quite honestly, I don't like it. It doesn't allow me to do what I want to do with the car. Right now, Ziegler holding station over Ed Zabinski. Zabinski now trying to come back on him, but I don't know, Dorsey. He had a lot to do when he had him behind him, but now as he struggles with that car and he sees Zabinski, or when he sees Ziegler pull out a little bit on him, a little bit at a time in one lap, he's been able to pull several car lengths. So the struggle, I think, is taking its toll.
It's these darn engineers. What they're trying to do is engineer the driver completely out of the driver's seat. You know, where the car's just driving you around and you're sitting there.
Well, they engineered you and me out a long time ago.
They did. They engineered me right out of it. No doubt about that.
Oh, look at that. Zabinski having a little trouble getting past some lap traffic. And we're going to take a couple of corners here with our leader, Don Knowles. And right now,
Knowles has been following somebody leaking oil. Look at the windscreen.
Yeah.
Little bits of that's oil drops, and Don knows better than to turn the windshield wiper on and smear that whole thing up. That's why they're still there.
And Knowles has slowed his pace considerably by more than 2 seconds a lap. He still has 7.5 seconds in hand,
but he's on the
last lap.
Yeah, he's only got 1 lap to go, so why even go further than that? I see that when they decel and brake these cars, really putting out a lot of black smoke, which means that they're pretty rich on the fuel when they run them. Probably cooling the turbocharger off with fuel when they do that.
There's the Phoenix Motorsports crew. Don Knowles' crew standing there. Going to be giving him the thumbs up. He has 3 national championships, all in showroom stock B. Might get one here in Touring 2 in just a minute. And if he does, GM will make it 15 wins in the Touring 2 class. It'll be the first win for Pontiac at the runoffs in T2.
Don Knowles, the king of smooth. He's been driving these street stock cars for a long time. He's look at just perfect idea right there.
He's the king of smooth on the racetrack. He's the king of smooth off the racetrack. He's just a nice guy, great sense of humor, great personality, and he is awesome in the race car. I'm not sure you want to get in any type of showroom stock type vehicle against Don Knowles because he knows how to get the job done. He's done it yet again today. That's Rob Hines in front of him, who's had the problems as well back. Don Knowles, his crew celebrates. Phoenix Motorsports will take another checkered flag. Don Knowles will make it 4 national championships. And we'll look back for the battle of second and third. They flash by the line as well. Ziegler takes second, Zabinski in third. Here we go. Great battle here. Ken Dobson working his way up.
Oh, the Lotus almost getting pushed off the racetrack. Doesn't have any horsepower. He's trying to intimidate Dobson. At the line. You call it.
Wow, but that's not for position.
No, that was a lap down.
That was a lap car. Aubuchon needed to let him go so he didn't have to do another lap. Oh, well, that's right. The leader had already taken the checkered flag. So the race was over. Don Knowles takes the national championship, Touring 2, and he had it all his way from here in Heartland Park. His 4th SCCA National Gold Medal. We'll be back for the celebrations right after this. Welcome back to Speed's coverage of the SCCA National Championship runoffs. The Touring 2 battle is complete. And Chris, I bet Don Knowles is ecstatic.
He is ecstatic, and he's getting that medal right now. He's a 4-time champion. Don, you had to be nervous this morning. You blew that turbo out in the morning practice, but it looked like everything was all right. You drove away from him.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be easy, is it? Ever. It's never easy.
How amazing with this group. You've had so many cars coming through the Phoenix group this weekend, and now we've got 3 that have won.
Well, we've just got a small, tough, focused, skilled team. Joe provides resources and directions, and everybody else works their tail off.
Well, Phoenix Performance, they won this one, but they also had a hand in building and prepping the other 2 cars on the podium.
That's right, Chris, and don't forget, Andrew Aquilante won the Touring 1 championship yesterday in a Phoenix-built car. Don Knowles, all about the celebration, and why wouldn't he be happy? 4 gold medals, you got to be pleased with that. That good battle between Ziegler and Zabinski. David Schatz in the Pontiac. Man, he dodged a bullet when Ken Dobson had that apparent problem. Look at the second page there. Kumar Viswalingham comes home 14th. Some good runs. Rob Hines, the problems early on, he ends up 16th. Problems for him. And John Baldwin Jr., big disappointment. Almost had that all-wheel drive working for him in the Subaru. Not quite well enough, and it didn't keep him out of the fence. So disappointment for John Baldwin, but not for our second-place drivers. Mike?
Bill Ziegler takes second place today. Tell us about that pass. Obviously, with a few laps to go, it had to be pretty close.
We went into 8-9. Ed and I almost side by side. Ed got a little bit wide coming out of 9. I ran around the outside him and then pressed him over a little bit into 10 and took 10 away from him. And
now, you guys had your car set up for the early part of the race, but it actually seemed to look like it went quicker at the end.
Our car came in very nicely at the end of the race. We had a lot of car left, and our tires were great in the end, and I just put my head down and said, hunt him down. So.
All right, you did a great job. I'm going to go grab Ed Zabinski. Ed, congratulations, 3rd place. Now, obviously, you had a good car to beginning, but fighting that traction control must have hurt you.
It did hurt us. I mean, it's a brand new car. We literally built it this week. And, you know, there's a couple of little glitches in new race cars, as you probably know, and this was one of the ones that just kept taking the throttle away from me, and it did it at unpredictable times, and one of those times gave Bill an opportunity, and he drove right around me, which was good.
Were you trying to keep the traction control off the entire time, or were you wanting to go off and on in different corners?
No, I wanted it off the entire time. Yeah, it's an awesome system. The GM traction control is one of the best that there is in the world, but on a racetrack, when you're trying to get everything you can, you like to think that a professional driver has some sort of abilities, and it just took the throttle throttle away from me in a couple spots where I needed to rotate the car, and it was screwing me up. I kept turning it off, turning it on, you know.
All right, got to go to Chris in fourth. Thanks a lot.
Well, Dave Schatz gets fourth, his best runoffs finish, and he's the best of the rest, not in a Solstice.
Man, it really, I had the right make. Pontiac was what you needed, but a Solstice, not a Firebird. And these Kumho tires and Carbotech brakes just were awesome the entire race. And it's fun to finally get a good finish here. We've had some front runnings and never finish it. And HP 234 and everybody at home, thanks.
Congratulations, Dave. Brian?
He's the best of the rest. That's what he said. Pontiac was the right make, just a little heavy.
I like Ed Zabinski. He said, you know, I would like to think that the driver could have some control. Yeah, buddy, I'm with you.
Another great Touring 2 battle here. Wasn't great for everybody, but a lot of smiles all around, especially for Don Knowles, who comes home with his 4th SCCA National Championship, his first in Touring 2. Congratulations to the Phoenix Motorsports crew and to Don Knowles on their great performance here at Heartland Park, Topeka. For Dorsey Schrader, Mike Johnson, Chris Neville, I'm Brian Till. Make sure you catch all the runoffs action right here only on Speed. So long.